From an Olympic gold medal and an NFL career to building a media empire, Shawn Johnson East and Andrew East have mastered the balance of elite athletics, entrepreneurship, and parenthood. Today, we dive into their love story, business journey, and how they went from rock bottom to influencing millions every week. And stick around to the end to see a fun game of Who Is. Who is more likely to miss a meeting because they lost track of time?
Shawn.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Don't start this right now.
Lost track of time.
Trying to reach my goals, got no time for mistakes. Yeah, I'm standing on business, need a big safe. Suited up, got the blueprint in the briefcase. It's go time on the grind, needs a big stakes.
Broadcasting from the franchise Sidekick studio, welcome to the Sidekick Life. Get ready for stories of passion, problem solvings, and success from those living life on their terms. All right, welcome back to the Sidekick Life. Today is probably the episode that I've been the most excited about, the most anticipated for, and I am maybe 25% as excited as my wife is, who's sitting here right next to me, because she is the world's #1 Shawn Johnson East fan. She had to stop at their center in Iowa and everything else. She has all the gear, and so we are super pumped to have Shawn Johnson East and Andrew East with us here today. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having
us.
Well, I'm a fanboy too. I mean, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye, which before we started
hot.
recording, look at that. Shawn's all about it, which I love. So it's exciting for me as well.
Yeah, super excited. And as I was explaining to you all beforehand, we love talking entrepreneurship, right? You guys are well known for your relationship, your parenting. You guys are funny as hell. I mean, we love watching your videos. They're so good. And we want to learn more about that. But we also really want to understand the business behind the two of you. But before we can get to the business, we want to understand kind of, we want to take it back, I guess. We want to take it back to Shawn and Andrew, elite athletes. Everybody in the world is watching. I mean, Shawn, I can't imagine what went into becoming an Olympic gold medalist. That's just one of the coolest things I've ever heard. But if you don't mind, let's just start from the point where like the professional careers were done, right? You guys were in a relationship. You were kind of moving into marriage, moving into kids, all those things ahead. Talk to us a little bit about what that felt like to transition from being elite athletes to then becoming a couple and trying to figure out what was next. Was it a business? Was it a career? Talk a little bit about that phase.
I always tell people it felt like I running full speed into a brick wall. It is a very jarring experience trying to transition out of elite athletics. Andrew and I have talked a lot about elite athletics and the elite mindset. It takes an unhealthy amount of obsession, and every single aspect of your life is focused on that one thing. So how I ate, how I slept, who I talked to, I only focused on gymnastics. So when it was time for me to retire and transition out, I had never thought of what comes next. I didn't know how to work out in a gym that wasn't a gymnastics gym. I didn't know how to function without a coach who was strategizing my every move. I didn't know how, to operate as a human being. And I think for me, my transition was a lot different than Andrew's, in the sense that I kind of retired twice. I retired the first time when I was 16 and went through a 2-year-long transition where I felt completely lost. I tried acting, miserable fail. I tried the entrepreneurship world. I tried so many different things, and I just felt lost. And then I ended up going back to gymnastics because that's where I felt the most comfortable. I gained my confidence again and retired a second time. This time being in a relationship with Andrew. And the way I kind of approached it is I had saved up enough money as a cushion to basically take a pause in life. And I did the dating thing. I dated Andrew, and I was able to kind of step back from business and kind of hit ground zero and just start over. I kind of wiped the slate clean and built from the ground up instead of trying to just parlay into like something new. But it was a great opportunity for us to form our relationship and then kind of solidify that foundation and then build a company afterwards.
Really good. What a blessing to have that time. Andrew, how about you?
Well, I was nowhere near the elite athlete that Shawn was.
Come on, give yourself credit. Come on.
Yes.
But it was, I think when you specialize in something as athletes are required to do more and more so as you go down the path of high school athletics to college athletics to the pros or whatever the next step may be, you're getting so fine tuned to that one skill set. And I love sports. I think there are so many wonderful carryovers and life lessons that you learn in doing sports, but inevitably there are things you learn in sports that don't really apply to other areas of life. And so when your opportunity ends in sports, as Shawn voluntarily made her decision, and as I had my decision made for me, when I signed with the Chiefs in 2015, I thought I was going to be playing there for 15 years. I was a long snapper, and usually the careers on long snappers are pretty long and durable. But I got cut after 3 months, and I didn't make that decision, so I was kind of forced to make the transition, and it kind of became this cat and mouse game where I was still getting opportunities to play in the NFL and to try out with teams and sign with teams. I ended up signing with 8 teams in 5 years, and got an accredited season, which was kind of like a dream come true. But it became I need to have a plan B. And so having a plan B then negatively impacted my performance and dedication to football, but I'm glad I ended up pursuing other activities, other skill sets, and other interests, because it helped when the doors finally closed. It helped me make the transition fully into what we're doing now. And so I don't know, it's tough. Like there's no right way to go about it. Shawn's took a couple years, and mine, I was able to kind of simultaneously still pursue football while making the transition. But it is definitely a tough transition to make.
Hey Sidekicks, it's Ryan Zink here. I'll never forget the moment I opened my first franchise, helping my first customer, hiring my first employee, and cashing my first check. It wasn't just a business, it was the beginning of living life on my terms. When Tyler and I started Franchise Sidekick, we reimagined how people would find brands and succeed in franchise ownership. We're the fastest growing franchise advisory group in the country because we built a smarter, tech-driven system. Our approach has helped people just like you purchase over 10,000 franchise locations, and we've earned a 5-star rating on Google doing it. Now we're sharing exactly how we do it in a quick 20-minute webinar titled 10,000 Locations and Counting, the Franchise Buyer's Blueprint. If you're ready to explore a path to financial freedom and take control over your future, this is your first step. And did I mention our services are always 100% free? Click the link below to sign up now, because you deserve to live life on your terms.
Yeah. So how did, you guys came from a place of a ton of great coaches, world-class coaches. As you transitioned, did you have people to help you, or was that transitional coach there? Did you have mentors? Did you guys have sidekicks that kind of help you make that transition?
No. I would say the first time I retired, that was kind of my big issue, is I didn't find anyone to kind of help me into the transition. And that's what left me feeling lost. And ultimately going back to gymnastics the second time around, I would say this guy was the best sidekick. He wasn't necessarily coaching me in business. It wasn't the role as like boyfriend and girlfriend, but he played this massive role in supporting just the attempt to start something new, the failures. And you allowed me to kind of like hit rock bottom, but still feel like good about it, which was really cool.
Marriage gets me pumped up, and I'm so grateful for our relationship, because we really are kind of each other's sidekicks, which has been so fun. And to Shawn's credit, I am continually impressed by her humility and allowing me to like try new things. And she's this icon of an athlete, like worldwide. We'll go to wherever in Greece, or we're in Cyprus, and the waitress stops us and says, "Oh my gosh, are you really Shawn?" But she like steps down from that, I don't know, that pressure of whatever is entailed in that type of notoriety. And she's like, "Hey, yeah, we'll start a YouTube channel," or "Yeah, let's do a podcast," before, they were so ubiquitous. And I think Shawn has been my greatest sidekick. Certainly, I think in football, the coaches really do guide you, and they're wonderful to have. Transitioning out of football, I kind of feel like having a mentor felt like such a rigid, formal thing. that I didn't pursue for a couple of years because it felt intimidating, or I didn't even know what it meant to like what does that mean to have a coach that's not a football coach?
Yeah.
It just didn't connect for me. But then in 2017, a guy, Josh Axe, came and really, he initiated the conversation of like, hey, I want to mentor you and let's do this thing together. And the way he challenged me, the questions that he would just so directly ask were uncomfortable initially, but then compounded over weeks and months. And we would have a regular meeting cadence, and he would assign books that we had to read, and we'd show up and discuss them. And then he'd continue to ask hard questions like, hey, how much are you making? How much are you spending? Where are you winning most? That changed my life. And so ever since that first interaction with Josh, I've kind of built out a board per se of different mentors in different areas. And that has been by far and away the most impactful thing to our growth and development.
It's the world's best life hack, I'll tell you right now, is having that relationship with that significant other. It is the best. I mean, Ryan's got, Mandy, my wife, super supportive. We work as a team. It's the best life hack ever when you find that person who can support your dreams.
Also love the mentor message there. But before we move on to the business, there's just something that's burning a hole in my head, so I have to know. And so we talk a lot about focusing on one thing until you're the best in the world, right? It's one of our core philosophies here at Sidekick. And Shawn, I'm curious. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands of kids who are in gymnastics, all of them hoping to make it to where you did, right? And when you were young, you probably felt just like everyone else, maybe, I don't know. But do you remember the moment when you were like, I'm different, right? Like, I'm going to go where all these kids want to go. Like, do you remember the exact moment when you were like, holy cow, this is going to happen?
Yes and no. I have a challenge to that question. So I think something that was very, very unique about my coaching and my upbringing within my sport was my coach from day one taught a different philosophy on competition. I would never be competing against someone else. Like the very first day I walked into the gymnastics gym, and we were training for our first competition at a very recreational level, he taught me this idea that like the girls that I'm next to don't matter. Like the only thing that matters is like competing against yourself. Which, to answer your question, is a little hard because I really never had that moment. I never looked around and said, oh my gosh, I have made it, or I am good, or I am it, because I never watched anybody else.
Interesting.
I was so hyper-focused on my ability and getting better than what I was yesterday, because that's what was ingrained in me, that I always felt like I was behind. And I idolized these girls, and I remember watching them on TV, and there was no chance I would ever be as good as them. So I was always chasing so hard, but on my own, like, and in my own way. So I even remember I remember winning world championships for the first time at 14 and standing on the podium, the top podium, and literally feeling like an imposter to a certain extent. I was like, I don't know what's happening. Wow. Like, how am I standing here?
Which I love.
And I felt like that way at the Olympics. Yeah,
I love that. I think one of the most important things about your ability to become the best in the world is humility, right? It's the grit to overcome just about anything, and it's the humility to give away the credit, which it sounds like you had a ton of that. So good for you.
As a follow-up to that, I just watched the Aaron Rodgers documentary on Netflix, and I thought it was super interesting where he said, I'd worked my entire life to get to this point. He's talking about the Super Bowl, right? And he gets on the bus after the Super Bowl, and he's just like, is this it? Is this everything I worked for? And so then he obviously, rebounded and things obviously took off from there. But did you have a sense of that? Like after you won the gold medal, was there any part of you that's like, okay, it felt maybe different than I thought it would?
1,000%. I have talked a lot about this. I said that was like the first time I ever felt faith for the first time in such a giant way. Was the entire world. I started gymnastics when I was 2, like any normal toddler, not in a advanced way. And I competed at the Olympics at 16. And pretty much for 10 straight years of my life, as I was like really training, I had the world telling me that if you won an Olympic gold medal, you had the highest sense of fulfillment, on the face of the earth. That was the epitome of success. And when I attained it and I was standing on the podium and I got the medal and the anthem's playing, I remember having that immediate thought. Like, I was very, very proud. But it was kind of like a holy crap moment, because I was like, what do I do with my life now? I was 16 years old. I hadn't finished high school. And it was this feeling of, is this what the world said was going to be the greatest feeling I will ever feel in my entire life? This can't be it. And yeah, it's a scary feeling, because it's truly like a, what do I do now?
Interesting. Wow. Which I want to come back to that too when we start talking about kids and later, achievements later in life. But can we go take it back now to where we were earlier? So you guys started to date, and you both said something that just didn't even cross my mind until you said it. You said there was no capacity in your mind for anything but your sport, right? It's the only thing you could think about. It's the only thing you knew. You had people around you all the time that were pushing you to achieve. And then all of a sudden it was just kind of like, it's over, right? And Shawn, I think you even said you hit rock bottom, right? And Andrew was there to kind of help you work through it. Talk about that. Like, when did, maybe tell me the term that you guys use. I don't know if you use affiliate marketing or sponsorships or influencers or whatever, term that you guys use now. Like, how did that transition into becoming that? And how long did it take? And how hard was it to say, hey, we're going to put things out in the world that people are going to want to watch?
So this was in 2015. I got released in August. Shawn was going around the country doing appearances and tours and what she did at the time and had done for years. And so I'm sitting at home for 4 months, just twiddling my thumbs, trying to figure out, what do I do? And I just graduated from Vandy, went to business school and got my MBA, but still I wasn't able to settle into a job just because I was traveling every week, trying out for an NFL team on Tuesdays. And so it would just not work with a normal career path in that time. And so I was really at a dark spot. No self-confidence. I couldn't even look anybody in the eye because I was so self-conscious. And I was just like, I'm not worthy. I don't do anything. And I got cut. And that's what everyone was kind of expecting me to do, was make the team. So that lasted for probably a month. And then I started looking for different side hustles. I signed up to be an Uber driver. I did a bunch of different things. I was looking at making a backpack company. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember.
That was a pretty sweet design, to be honest. We got it mocked up and like shipped from a factory in China. It was great. But then I had a friend tell me about a YouTube channel that they had started and that I should look into it. And this is 2015. So like, social media was definitely around, but it's not what it is now, where like the young people weren't saying that they wanted to be YouTubers when they grew up, just because it was a small selection of channels and no one really knew you could make money on it. But I fell in love with the process of editing videos, with looking at cameras and the different tech of how do you capture the video, what are the best styles, the cinematography of it, how do you edit it, what's the storytelling techniques, and then the whole YouTube culture really captivated me. And I had some really kind people that would kind of help me along in learning that. And so I started doing it. We made our first video. Shawn, literally, you can still find the article on Sports Illustrated. She was like one of the first quote unquote mainstream celebrities to start a YouTube channel. And Sports Illustrated wrote this article that pretty much ripped into her about like, what is she doing? She launched this YouTube channel. She's filming in her house, because there's only the big productions still being done for the TV type of stuff. And so then that led to some hard conversations, because I was like, oh, I just wanted to make this video for fun and try this stuff out. And she was like, this might compromise my career if it has negative branding effects. But again, I don't know why. It was really unfounded, your trust in me. I said, let's give this 4 months and let's just like see what happens. We started seeing, I think our first check from YouTube was like $7.52. And I was like, but we can make money on this. And if we could cover our mortgage, that would be like a huge win. She was pretty apprehensive about it. But what I did was I created this whole roster of YouTube channels, and I dug up the emails associated with the YouTube accounts. And then I came up with concepts based off of what each YouTube channel was. It was like you know, whether it be Dude Perfect and let's do a gymnastics trick shot video, or here's this prank channel and let's do taking Shawn's medals to the pawn shop and do a prank like that. Or I kid you not, I had like 100 of these ideas that I would kind of do this outreach on, which I'd kind of done the same thing when I was trying to get recruited for college football. So I was familiar with the process. And then we just did the outreach and we got so many no's, but we got a couple yeses, and we traveled the country, and then we did all these videos, and pretty much within that first year, we realized that we loved it. And then within 2 years, it really kind of became the full-time gig. And now we're 9 years into it. And we've created something like 20,000 videos in 9 years across all platforms and all different formats, over 7 billion views. And it's like, you don't think of what it could turn into when you're at the start. But man, if you put your head down and fall in love with the process and not the results, I think good things happen.
That is so good. Yeah,
Like, awesome.
so
Like,
good.
I'm processing that, man. But like, that's amazing. Just the effort that went into it. And just thinking back 2015, I mean, that's not that long ago, right? So you think about what YouTube has become, it's incredible. That is impressive, guys. Well done.
Yeah. So, and I got to say, at least twice a year, my wife shows me the video of you getting into the car after Shawn's been in it. And like she's like, have I ever showed you this video? I say, yeah, you show it to me twice a year, but it's funny every time because we go through the same thing. Like when she's in the car and I got to hit that button and wait for the seat to move back. I'm like, the windshields have defrosted in the time that it takes for the seat to go back.
For real.
All right. So those 4 months, Shawn, you completely trusted Andrew. 4 months, you're just creating videos. But I got to imagine after 4 months, it was still a little bit like, you know, can this thing turn into more than $7 from YouTube? Can it turn into a real thing? So would you mind maybe just fast forwarding over the next few years for us? Like maybe similar question that I asked Shawn about gymnastics. Like when did you know it was going to be the thing that was going to be able to provide for your family? And how have you had to build a team around you to support it?
I think within those 4 months, we were kind of hooked. And to give you the backstory before I go forward, I had been working in like traditional sports endorsements for 7+ years at the time. And within those arrangements, things were very, very structured. So back in the days with traditional sports marketing, I would be told what I could and couldn't say. I'd go through press training, and I'd go through, you know, traditional media. I would do interviews and I would do appearances. And it was so much work to be tailored and made to look to fit a certain part based off of the brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Andrew, though it was terrifying at the time, potentially jeopardizing this career that was paying our paychecks at the time, it was so freeing. Because to set up a camera at home and actually be able to wear pajamas and say my actual thoughts without being edited by a third party and their agenda felt very freeing. And so we got hooked within those 4 months. We had a blast meeting all of these people and learning the insights to the social media world. And I would say within a year, it really took off to where we had signed a new manager or agent, an agency. That was no longer sports entertainment based. It was social media based.
Shout out Jade, love you.
Who we're still with, and she's the best. But we kind of re-strategized and rebranded our entire life within a year. I would say that takes us to 2016.
Yeah.
We did it solo between just us two and our agent for 4 years. So in 2020, we hired our first employee full time. And because things started taking off, we had our first kid. And then fast forwarding, we probably averaged 1 or 2 employees adding on to our group every year for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And so how big is your team today?
We have 4 full-time who are in here with us every day, but we have 12.
Yeah, 12 full-time, not all here. And it's been a really amazing process. I'm so grateful to have dedicated the last 9 years to this. It's fun to think at the beginning we were just trying to pay the in the beginning, I was just trying to find something to do with my time,
Right.
you know? And then it was like, oh shoot, we can make money. Let's try to pay the mortgage. And then it was like, oh my gosh, this would be crazy. Like people talk about the hedonic treadmill, and I think it's like in some ways dangerous because the finish line can never maybe
Right.
you might never get there, right? If you're chasing contentment in that sense. But I also think that we've grown so much as we have continued to pursue the next thing, and I think in a healthy way. And so at first it was like, hey, let's try to get a video with 1 million views. And what we've learned over time is the less about ourselves I think we can make everything, the better the result in all different areas. And I'll never forget talking to my buddy who's in private equity, and he's talking about acquiring a new company. He's like, hey, really the key for these entrepreneurs is the less about themselves they can make the company, the less dependent on themselves they can make the company, the better it is from an acquisition standpoint, the more appealing the company is to buy, right?
Right.
And so I've kind of taken that mindset, and as we've grown the team, it's like, hey, can I not make this about my control, my creative style? Like, let's let the editor do their thing. And obviously, like, it's a conversation, and let's make sure that we're all happy with the end product, but trusting others with that type of responsibility. And then also, even with our podcast, it's like, let's not steward all the attention and like try to just get all these views for our own voices. Let's try to bring on experts who actually have something worthwhile to say, and let's try to deflect the attention. And that's like the best use of the attention, as opposed to focusing all on us. And so it's really been a wonderful process and maturing for sure.
That's awesome. I'd love to learn, if you don't mind, can we dig into the business a little bit more? I'd love to learn about, obviously you have 4 people working with you. What's your revenue in terms of like where those streams come in? Is it primarily endorsements? What does it look like for you in terms of revenue?
Yeah. So we have 6 different buckets of income. So we have like the traditional sponsorships is the biggest one. And we're in a really favorable position just because of the traditional background that Shawn's had, and like this massive success. Being attached with the Olympics is not something that a lot of YouTubers have the freedom to be associated with.
Right.
And so that's appealing to companies. Also, just the family friendliness of it that I think just comes somewhat naturally to us. Like, we're not the hardest drinkers or the biggest partiers or the worst swearers, which has its downsides in certain situations, but I think in our world, it's definitely got some upsides. And so anyway, the sponsorships is one. Then we have affiliates is another. And so those are like not guaranteed type contracts. We have the private equity side of things, where we partner with companies in the equity sense, and we've had some really fun, exciting exits in that. The in-house merchandise and products is another, events is another. And so we've tried to expand naturally while not compromising the core thing that really keeps us going and keeps us exciting, as well as pays the bills, which is just making the videos that people like watching.
Which is just so, I mean, when we're talking companies, let's point out here, we're talking like Amazon, right? We're talking Built,
Yeah.
Infamil, Rubbermaid. I mean, you guys partner with some of the biggest companies in the world. You turned your little 4 months into now this like mega multimedia thing, which I think is amazing. What does that look like? Do they reach out to you? Does like Amazon just pick up the phone and call your people and be like, hey, we want to partner with Andrew and Shawn? What does something like that look like?
Yes, that is exactly how it happens. We usually have long dialogues and conversations with these companies about what their campaign is about, what they're trying to promote, what their goal is. Are they trying to sell product or just get a message across? Over the years, we have done things right and we've done things wrong. And we've learned in the long run that if it doesn't fit our brand perfectly, it's not worth doing the partnership with.
Right.
So for us, it's a lot of sorting through ideations of content creation and making sure that it truly matches our brand in the best way possible. But we've had the fortune of like working with so many companies, and we have those relationships now that a lot of them are returning or like continuing relationships that we continue to work with.
Which is
we've done a better job at the analytical side of things and building out dashboards. So we have inbound opportunities that come to us that we're now able to kind of gauge the potential success of by looking at other similar products or other similar categories we've done. How has our audience received them? Has it converted well from a sales standpoint, if that's the goal? But then we also have an outbound process now too, where if we use a product and we know our audience likes it, then let's start essentially building a relationship with the company and seeing what type of partnership opportunities we could work out. But over 85% of the companies that we have ever worked with work with us at least twice. So it's pretty exciting to think like something's working, you know?
Yeah, and this is what I find so interesting. Just getting to know you two and your business, I wasn't sure like what the back side of the business looked like, right? You're talking about dashboards, you're talking about a team, you're talking about, producers. So you have this sophisticated team building your brand. So now what are your roles? Obviously, outside of just being the talent, what are your roles? Like, how do you spend your days and your weeks?
I would not use the term sophisticated.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
As rough as it gets. The amount of times we get a chuckle, all of our team members, about when someone says, "What's your title?" And we're all like, "We don't know. We don't know. We just kind of show up and do it." I would say my role has definitely changed over the years. I went from kind of like running my brand to I'm pretty much strictly talent. I am mom at home and I come in to shoot. Andrew runs the machine. Every aspect of it.
Well, you're strictly talented in a couple different ways. You are so incredibly talented.
Oh,
you are like 100% talented, but in like the Hollywood sense of the term, we try to make it so whatever videos we're filming, Shawn just shows up and we kind of walk through the shots as necessary, or do the podcast script as necessary, which has been really fun. But we have a producer, we have a newsletter lead, we have an affiliate person, and an outbound salesperson. We jokingly call myself the HR, which is a terrible. I did not think that this is what I would be doing. I thought
You're like the CEO and HR, which is not legal.
Yeah, and all this, I want to make clear, like this is we're joking about the sophistication. We do have systems and processes and like brand kind of guidelines. This is not what it was at the start.
Right.
I'm not saying it's super polished,
No.
but what has become necessary as we've included other people in the team is like clear communication, which has then, I think, turned into like, hey, here's our process for this, and we have to write this down, or here's a batch of tasks that we expect from you. And then that rolls over into like, we got to do like end of year reviews. And I'm like, how do I do this?
Yeah, right.
Like this is a learning experience for all of us. So anyway.
Those are the worst, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, they are, by the way. Yep.
Oh man.
Sorry,
We've just
Shawn.
learned over the years that the more we can offload and ask for help on, the more it opens up room for us to be creative like we love being and how it all started.
Yeah.
And the more creative we have, or the more creative freedom we have and room to do that kind of stuff, the more successful the whole entire business is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Love
Now there's something to consider here. You now have 3 children and they're young. I mean, what are the ages? It's like 5, 3, 1 or something like that. It's wild.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how has your role changed, and are they starting? I actually listened to your planning session, which I want to talk to you guys about that because I got some good names for your planning because you guys.
Yes, we need them,
I
dude.
had ChatGPT to come up with some names, so I got them here. So I got that. But I like the idea you guys are giving your kids goals or starting that whole thing. But how are your kids involved in this whole process?
It's a very fluid conversation that changes every year, if not changes every day. We started off when we first started social media 6 years ago. When we had our daughter, social media looked a lot different than it does now, just with like security and safety and everything. We more freely included our kids in all of our content 6 years ago. And now we've always just said that all of our content is shot from a parent's perspective. It's about parents. It's about 2 parents. It's about everything we go through as parents. It's not about our children. So when the day comes, which I'm sure it will, where our kids are like, no, mom, I don't want anything to do with the camera, it doesn't affect our business because it's not about them. We have also had the fortune of being around a lot of families, like OG families within the social media space who have taught us and mentored us through this process on how to best protect our children. We don't foresee social media ever going away. So we also believe in like teaching our kids a lot about it. But
yeah, and we consider the type of videos we make as being shareable home video. So it's actually really crazy to see old footage from my grandpa filming my dad as a kid. And then my dad, we have all this footage, decades worth of like, man, this is really just a continuation of like a family tradition in some sense. Obviously, this looks different with sharing it with the world, but like we always do a couple edits with the videos where it's like, here's our home video that'll be the cute things. And I love having this online archive that we can search on the back end of YouTube that no one else can see of like, hey, here's the ski trip, the first time the kids went skiing, and it'd be all this like unfiltered, unedited stuff. And then we'll go in and add our narration to it and like kind of patch the storyline together so that it is shareable and like it's a digestible video to watch of, hey, this is our trip to Park City, and it'd be less kid oriented.
Take out a lot of things.
Yeah, 100%.
Our personal videos that we keep for ourselves look a lot different than what the world sees.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I will say it gets harder the older our kids get. So like Drew, our oldest, is probably seen the least amount now.
Yeah.
Comparatively speaking to our 3 and 1 year old. She's getting to an age where we're more uncomfortable showing her because people now recognize her.
Right.
And it's not just a baby, it's actually Drew. And so they phase out the older they get, where it's like, no, I don't want elementary school kids talking about her when she goes to kindergarten.
Yeah. I mean, Tyler's got 2 boys. I got 4 boys. I can perfectly resonate with what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. You had,
Can you imagine?
yeah, 4 boys. That's great. I love it. Yeah.
Boys are wild.
We got a lot of dented walls below 4 feet in our home.
Yeah.
You said something that was interesting. I'd never thought about before. You said there's a lot of YouTube kind of OG families, right, that you're connected with. So is there like this group of, influencers from YouTube and other platforms that get together and they network and they talk about best practices that you guys are part of?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're on Discord channels, group chats. YouTube had us host this event for YouTube Kids last year, where there's like industry events, and I mean now it really has turned into such a formal kind of established quote unquote industry. Like people talk about Ryan's World TV, the kid that like does tour reviews and makes $30 million a year. It's like people are making this a career, and so there's become a lot of different events that have sprung up as a result.
Well, and it's hard for us to even put ourselves within the YouTuber world because we are a very small YouTube channel comparatively speaking to like the YouTubers. But because we solicited ourselves so much early on to the YouTube world and just begged people to teach us, and we traveled the world to work with these YouTubers, we have that relationship. And it's so fun to see the OG people who are true YouTubers, who know every in and out and every possible thing there is to know, and be able to be friends with them and support them as well and see how well they're doing. Yeah. But it is cool. We've gotten to learn from the best, which is fun.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you guys have had mentors all the way throughout, whether it's your athletic or your personal or your career. But it's a good transition because there's something that we always ask on the Sidekick Life that I'm really curious as to how you guys answer. So we believe as entrepreneurs, we are sidekicks to heroes, right? And our heroes are our customers. It means that we either have their back, we guide them, we protect them. So who would you say is your hero? Who do you protect? Who do you guide? And what are they trying to solve?
I love that approach and framing of that. It's been really fun to realize first through meeting people in person. And it started with walking around the streets or going to restaurants with Shawn, and then she gets approached, and then you start realizing there's a pattern of, oh, this is like a young female, right? And then as we've aged, it's like young moms. And they're in tears because they're meeting their hero, but it's kind of grown into like a real acknowledgement and speaking intentionally towards somewhere between a 28 and 35-year-old female who has young children under the age of 5 is really that demographic for us. And so we have really realized that what we do is a responsibility because people listen to what we have to say. And it's crazy. And we have a style that certainly not everybody resonates with, but some millions of people do. And so what do we do with that? And I think we view anything we put on the internet as being on the range of entertaining or educational. And you know, our podcasts are probably more on the educational side of things. We have some pretty deep conversations with experts, et cetera. Our 15-second videos are probably more on the entertainment side of things. But how can we still deliver meaningful takeaways, whether that be a challenge that a husband can do with the wife, or even if it's just a question, or maybe it's like a daily thought for the day and a devotional. And then how can we teach them something or talk about a product in a way that might change their life? You all each have kids. You know how much the wrong diaper can create diaper rashes, or the right diaper can like prevent that midnight meltdown of the kid being in discomfort. And so it's like we take that pretty seriously. And so a large portion of our time is trying products, testing products, seeing which one's the best and why, and who does it fit for, and then how do we talk about that message to share with the population. So anyway, 28 to 35-year-old women, and we do try to help them in their parenting and relationship journey in home.
Really good. You knew that about the diapers, right, Tyler?
Of course I knew. Of course. I've been educated. Trust me. My wife knows everything about this kind of stuff. They got to be clean diapers. They got to be like, special, non-toxic, the whole thing. So you betcha. I got it.
Right.
Yeah. And that stage, man, I remember, again, talking about having we had 4 under 6. And I mean,
my gosh.
Yeah. And seeing your videos, especially knowing them better now than I did back then, I could see how they would totally resonate. Like you're kind of at that period where you're not sure if you're awake or you're asleep, if you're going to laugh, you're going to cry. And you see your guys' stuff, and I could just see how inspirational and uplifting it would be. So what a perfect Sidekick story.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's really crazy to think. It's a tough phase. It's a very manual intensive when you have these young children under the age of 1. It's like you're not seeing a lot of friends because you don't have time to, and your baby's napping or whatever. So you're kind of nap trapped, as they say. So really, if our video is able to make a mom smile who has a 5-minute break while not holding the child, and she's in maybe even a dark spot mentally, it's like that's a huge mental huge accomplishment of we did our job today by bringing a little joy.
I always love Jim Gaffigan. He always says, like, when you have kids and you have 2 kids and it's like you're swimming, right? You're fine. Yeah. And then somebody hands you another baby as you're trying to swim, and then they throw another baby on top of it and you start to drown. Like, I love the way he says it, but funny guy. I'm going to say something. It's pretty obvious here. Like, you guys are winners. I mean, you guys are truly winners. Like, Shawn, you've won Olympic gold medals, Dancing with the Stars. We even talk about that, for Christ's sakes. Like, that's a whole nother thing. And now you both have this media. I'm going to start to call it an empire. Like, it's starting to come together for you guys. You're very young. You're going to have something really special here. But, what's the secret? And I asked that at the risk of being kind of eye roll, but like, what is it honestly that makes you guys successful?
I would say each other, even though we want to kill each other half the time, working together. And I mean that in an endearing way. Just going from
killing in the endearing way, murder in the fun.
Murder in the endearing way. Trust me.
But I also think we've learned through failures over the years of if it's not authentic, it doesn't work. Like, especially for us. We have done things strictly for money, where it's like, oh, we know this will convert and we'll get a good paycheck, but it leaves us feeling empty. It leaves us discouraged. It leaves us not like inspired to continue. And I would say truly, like, our moral compass at the bottom line of it all is what keeps us going and kind of what works. And if we ever start steering off that, you can tell. And we have to kind of go back to the drawing board and be like, I don't like it. We need to either, go a different direction.
I had a high school coach who I'm pretty sure made up the word of stick-to-itiveness.
Wow.
And I really think that that's been a reason that we've been able to accomplish anything, whether it be in sports or in media. It's like, there's this temptation to try something new, think that you're not good at it, move on to the next thing, try something new, you're not good at it. And then it's like this endless process where you end up walking away not feeling like you're good at anything. But I think, people always talk about things like the YouTube algorithm or Instagram algorithm. It's like, oh, my videos aren't performing well in our industry. It's like, we've been through so many waves of all our videos are crushing or all our videos are doing poorly. And like, some people bail when it's not going well, right? But whether it be a tough phase in sport or online, I think it's like you keep putting your head down, you keep committed to the process, and then you make it through the phase. You learn the lesson that you needed to, you make the adjustments that you needed to, or the improvements that you need to, and then you're set up for an even bigger win in the next phase when it comes around,
So what I hear is the secret is consistency, which is so important, and being mission driven. I mean, which is a great way to define what the two of you do. So fast forward now 10 years into the future, right? Kids are teenagers. You guys have been doing this for 10 more years. What's this look like?
I love it. That would be a dream. If we could keep doing what we're doing, that would just be the best. I love what we do.
I love what we do.
I mean, you're gonna, right? This thing, like Tyler said, you are on the verge of becoming an empire. If from the outside looking in, it seems like 10 years, you guys are going to be just doing the same thing, but a lot more and a lot better. But you tell me, what do you see?
I think our answer has changed since having kids. I would say 2 years ago, even before we had our third kid, we said we wanted to build truly a media empire that had nothing to do with just us, but all encompassing family, and grow it huge and sell it. We had our third baby and we said, you know what? We don't aspire to do that anymore. We aspire to continue what we're doing, chugging along, still having free time to be with our kids and go to school functions. And yeah, I would just say if we're able to still be doing exactly what we're doing in 10 years, it would be incredible.
Which is kind of a gut check. Tyler, you asked, what's been the effect of kids earlier. And I think we have been forced to define what enough is. Yeah. And our takeaway from that is we've kind of imposed a self-imposed ceiling of this is we could make so much more money, but to everything, there's a cost, even making money. So man, we could 5x our earnings, 10x our earnings, but that would come at the cost of us not spending time with our kids. So we have really just realized, gosh, we love what we do. So that's enough. And we make enough money. So that's enough. And we have this wonderful community of people. We have this wonderful cadence with our kids and each other. What more could we need? So not that we're not looking to grow. It's more of just I don't know.
It worked.
Yeah. It's good.
It's funny we call that here life on your terms is what it sounds like to me, because we interview a lot of successful entrepreneurs, and at the end of the day, they're like, I've got enough. I just want to be me with my family, kind of not report to anybody, do what I want. And that's what it feels like you guys are at right now. You're like, I just want to live on our terms and do our thing, do things we like to do, not be forced to say a certain thing or do this or do that. Just want to be us. And I love that.
You know what I find interesting about hearing your story, though, is a lot of the entrepreneurs we speak with, we spoke to somebody recently that for 44 years ran a restaurant group, right? And now he's at the stage of his life where he can really do whatever he wants. But it sounds to me like you've built a business around your life, not the other way around, right? So you can be with the kids now, you can do the school stuff, you can, like you had already said, that it just doesn't consume everything. And you could scale it up 5x, 10x, but you've chosen not to because family is important. So at the sake of maybe asking the same question, but it's part of our podcast, so we're going to ask it anyway. The Sidekick Life title also means, the Sidekick Life means once you've helped enough other people get what they want, you can have whatever you want in life. So how would you define that for you now? How are you living your life because of how many people you've helped or served?
I think we're living the exact life that we preach online, which I think it took us so long to figure out what our true mission was, with the story we're telling in our business. And that is, we love families, we love marriage, we love couples and relationships and things that think it's the greatest thing in the world that you should preserve and protect and prioritize. And I think we actually are living that out, which is really cool.
I hope we're able to continue to do that.
Me too.
Yeah, I was thinking about the word meaning and where do we find meaning? Where do I find meaning? It's like it really comes from the relationships, or let's just call it love, right? And it's like, okay, well, let's think about how do you create love? And I think in my mind, a lot of love is selflessness or generosity. Whether that be, Tyler, I agree with you, living life on your own terms, but I think that may be interpreted to some people as like, I got to do what I want when I want.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, bro, like I've been married now 9 years. I'm not doing what I want when I want. You know what I'm saying? It does not always feel like I'm doing things on my own terms. It's like, I'm pretty much doing things on my wife's terms or my kids' terms.
Fair enough.
But you know what I'm saying? But that's what I want, because that's the love that then creates the meaning of, and the act of thinking outside yourself, whether that be with your local community or with your family, with your marriage, your kids. That's who I'm really trying to help. So
Amazing.
Super good.
We still got to talk about this planner at some point too.
That's right. Do you want to? I know we're running out of time, but do you want to dive in?
Real quick, we got some time here. So
Hold on.
Do a
Can
summary.
we pause for 1 second?
Yeah, let's pause.
Yeah, you got it. Of course.
I'm about to pee my pants.
Please, yes, of course. I love
I
it.
knew that was going to come when you said that.
Oh my gosh! Wow, this never happens.
The question
Are
is,
you good?
the question is, does she want us to edit that out, or do we just keep it right in?
Yeah, no, I don't think she cares, honestly.
All right, so you guys have this plan. I love the planning thing. Me and my wife do the same thing. It's been instrumental the last 5 years. We do it very similar. We go and celebrate. So we always go, like this year went to Vegas. Last year we went to Denver a couple days, and we celebrate the first day, then we plan the second day, right? Lesson learned, don't go to Vegas and then decide to do your goals the next day. We learned that this year. So that was a horrible idea. But you guys do the same thing. It sounds like go to a coffee shop for a day. Now you have a name for your planner, right? Like, what is this name?
We don't.
Well, we're searching for one.
Well,
I hear a guy has
had something he brought up. Like, I don't know if you
what
like
was it, Together Targets. Is that what?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay.
That sounds so cheesy.
So I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, what are some good names for this planner? And they came up with some good ones. So I thought we could maybe vote here and come up with a good one. But
Please.
the Andrew and Shawn shenanigans schedule. That was
I
one.
kind of like it so far.
The East Coast Chaos Planner.
Okay.
I kind of like that one. Those are probably the East Plan Blueprint. That's kind of generic.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Mission Don't Kill Each Other. That's kind of funny. So there's some good ones out there, but I think we gotta come up with something for you guys.
The Chaos Planner. I like it.
East Coast. Why East Coast? Yeah, East Coast Chaos. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, East Coast Chaos Planner. Yeah,
That's
For
great.
real.
Well, hey, again, thank you both so much. It's been great to get to know you. It's been great to watch you all the way back to your Olympic career, NFL career, to what you're doing today. Can't wait to see what you do over the next 10 years. You will continue to be mentors of ours and inspirations of ours. People can find you everywhere, but let's just still ask you the question. Like, if somebody wants to be introduced to you, where do you recommend they start?
We have a podcast called Couple Things. We could search it on any platform. We love doing the podcast. It comes out weekly on Wednesdays. We have a YouTube channel that's vlog/taste test/challenges. That's a blast too. That's the Shawn and Andrew YouTube channel. And then we have Shawn Johnson and Andrew D. East on all platforms.
Awesome. Thank you. So good. But in the spirit of just having a little bit of fun to close this out, I decided to create a few questions called Who Is? So you guys have probably seen this before, right? I'm going to say who is, and you have to immediately either point at yourself or point at the other. Okay.
Perfect.
Great.
To close this out. So I'll give you a half second in between each one, and then we're going to move on. Ready? Okay. Who is more competitive? Who is better at karaoke? Who's easier on the kids when they're in trouble?
Oh my gosh.
You guys are going to be talking about these later.
Yeah.
Who is more athletic? Oh, okay.
No, don't patronize. Don't patronize.
Who is a bigger risk taker? Who is more likely to accidentally teach your kids a bad habit? Who's more likely to get starstruck meeting someone famous?
Me.
Yeah.
Who's more likely to come up with a wild business or content idea out of nowhere?
Me. I'm on a heater right
Yeah,
now.
you are. Who wants to scale the business bigger?
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew, you're on a heater. Who is more likely to miss a meeting because they lost track of time?
Sean.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Yes, don't start this right now.
Lost track of time.
You're killing me.
Hey,
Who
I
makes
actually,
the schedule?
This podcast is done.
Sean, I'm on your side. I think he ghosted me our first call. So I'm
For sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
For sure.
Oh my gosh.
I make his schedule.
Who takes longer to film content?
Sean.
Me. Yeah.
Who's a tougher negotiator?
Me.
Sean.
That's good.
He's a dog.
Without hesitation.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Who's more?
I'm not a fair negotiator though.
You're not just one-sided.
Absurd.
I'm irrational.
Oh, okay, that's good. Who's more worried about return on investment for your business?
Andrew.
Andrew.
Love it. All right, 4 more. Who's more likely to come up with the next $1 million idea?
Andrew.
Who's more likely to be embarrassed shooting content?
Me.
Sean.
Always.
Who's the one that calls the sponsor if you have an issue?
Me.
Andrew.
And last but not least, who is funnier?
Huh.
Oh.
He
He learned his lesson there.
Yeah.
Sean's pretty funny. She's been hilarious the last couple of weeks. I don't know what you've gotten into, but you've been giving me the giggle.
Oh, I got to admit the facial expressions you have in the video, like the other one where like Andrew throws the snowball and it hits you in the back really light, and
Yeah.
you just turn around nonchalant, you push a big like boulder on top of him. I laughed out loud. That was so
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
Well, again, you guys have been a blast. We wish you nothing but a ton of success in your personal, in your family life, in your personal life, and in your business life. And we're going to be rooting you on. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you
Thanks for
guys
having
so
us,
much.
guys.
Thanks for joining us on the Sidekick Life, where we highlight true sidekicks, entrepreneurs who've got their customers' backs, solve real-world problems, and after helping enough people, get to live the life they've always dreamed of. We'll see you next time.